tell you, do you know the Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man? Yeah, I think I know the Muffin Man. The one on YouTube?
The Muffin Man!
Yeah, the Anabolic Muffin Man. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Oh, has it been a minute since we visited RJ and his recipes. Now, I don't know about you guys, but anytime I hear blueberry muffins and cheesecake, you know it's gonna be fire. Or is it? Now, if you guys have never had a blueberry cheesecake muffin, it's definitely time to dive right in. Now, traditionally, blueberry cheesecake muffins are just absolutely delicious, packed with flavor, super moist, and super fluffy. Now, it's the combination of the cream cheese and the blueberries that just take these muffins to a whole nother level. It's like the perfect marriage between two epic desserts. But what about the anabolic version? And that's what we're just about to find out. Today, we're tackling RJ's anabolic blueberry cheesecake muffins because they look to be super fluffy, filled with cheesy glory and anabolic goodness. So if you're ready to dive in and see what these anabolic blueberry cheesecake muffins are all about, sit back, relax, and let's get into the recipe. Guys, this recipe looks to be super quick and easy, which is gonna be great, but you're gonna need a couple of items. Make sure you got a bowl and a food scale. So to kick this recipe off, we're gonna use 66 grams of a blueberry cheesecake muffin mix. You can go ahead and pick this up at Walmart for roughly about 87 cents. Next up, we're gonna use our favorite whey protein, 31 grams of a cinnamon pastry. Then we've got 170 grams of a fat-free Greek yogurt. Next, we've got 112 grams of a fat-free cream cheese. And then for that extra fluffiness, we're gonna go ahead and add in 3 grams of a baking powder. Now guys, just as a reminder, RJ uses 5 grams of a low-calorie sweetener. Feel free to add as much as you like. I'm gonna go ahead and remove that just because I think there's plenty of sweetener within the actual whey proteins. But otherwise, let's go ahead and dive into this and whip ourselves up some anabolic muffins. Guys, if you haven't made this already, this thing smells ridiculously awesome. The blueberry flavor just absolutely coming out pretty epic. But here's what the batter is looking like right now. We're gonna go ahead and spray down our muffin tray with some nonstick spray, heat up our oven to 400 degrees, pop it in for about 10 minutes, and we should have ourselves some pretty epic anabolic muffins. And we're back. Muffins are out of the oven and they are ready to be devoured. These things are absolutely smelling delicious, but let's go ahead and dive into the 3 categories: anabolics, taste, and craving. So from an anabolic standpoint, we're looking at a total calorie and macro breakdown of 588 total calories with a macro breakdown of 8 grams of fat, 55 grams of protein, and 74 grams of carbs. Now this recipe made a solid 12 mini muffins, and when you look at the total protein to fat ratio, 55 grams to 8 grams, I think we're sitting in a pretty good spot. I think for a large majority of folks, this recipe will definitely work for you. Now, comparing this recipe to your average homemade cheesecake blueberry muffin, you're gonna be pretty impressed. So in terms of total calories and the macro breakdown for a homemade blueberry cheesecake muffin, we're looking at 201 total calories with an average of 10 grams of fat, 2 grams of protein, and 25 grams of carbs. And for me, seeing the stark contrast between a very wholesome homemade blueberry cheesecake muffin versus the anabolic version, you gotta say that's a pretty good difference. So we're gonna go ahead and rank this as a solid 9. And now on to taste. But before we go on to taste, let's dive into a close-up. In terms of overall texture and consistency, I think they're definitely still holding very good structure. Feels like they've got a decent amount of moisture in there and also still very fluffy. All right, so let's go into a mid-cut and see what the inside of one of these suckers looks like. All right, not too bad at all. So we got a little bit of cheesecake filling right there. Definitely looking very fluffy and looks like it's holding a decent amount of moisture. I'm ready to dive in for a taste test. Good to go? Let's do it. All right, first taste test. Cheers, boys. All right, going in for another one. Cheers, boys. Oh, woo! That is pretty legit. Okay, this definitely surprised the heck out of me. So, where do I start? Now, the outer shell of the muffin has a little bit of a thin, hard shell as the muffin cools, which is completely fine with me. I'm not too bothered by that. I'm more so concerned about what's on the inside of the muffin. You definitely dive into a very, very moist and kind of dense, cakey almost texture. I gotta say, honestly guys, this is a very good balance between a blueberry flavor, a little bit of cream cheese, giving an overall strong texture and consistency to the overall muffin. I'm gonna go ahead and rank this as a solid 8.5. I do think some of the folks who may be trying this recipe out, and if you have already tried this, let me know in the comments below what your guys' thoughts were and what your experiences were building this recipe. I will say that this definitely gives you a nice flavor, especially when you think about your traditional blueberry cheesecake muffins. They're rich, dense, super moist, and packed with flavor. And this definitely meets a lot of the characteristics. So in terms of overall taste, a solid 8.5. I really do think this is a nice little treat, especially for folks who are really craving your traditional homemade blueberry cheesecake muffin. Now, just a couple of items that I think would be very important for folks who are interested in making this recipe. First off is that this recipe definitely, hands down, is probably only gonna take you about 15 to 20 minutes tops to put everything together and then throw it into the oven. Now, where I did kind of get hung up on the actual baking portion of this recipe was these muffins actually didn't brown over on the top. And as you can see, this one in particular didn't brown very much at all. And so that actually kind of tricked me. And so I wasn't quite sure if I needed to cook this any longer than the 10 minutes or continue to leave it in. So for folks who definitely decide to make this recipe, stick with the 10 minutes. I think you'll be in a good spot. And again, it is part of the recipe and instructions. I just personally thought that there would have required a little bit more baking time just due to the overall color and the texture of the muffins as they were sitting in the oven. And lastly, it does make me wonder how long these muffins will last you if you decide to try and meal prep them or have them spread out over the next couple of days. Now on to craving. Now in terms of overall craving, I'm gonna go ahead and rate this as a solid 8.5. I do think that this specific recipe would absolutely satisfy your sweet tooth. But with that being said, guys, this is definitely one to try out. Well guys, we just wrapped up the 3 categories: anabolics, taste, and craving, for a total score of 8.6. This recipe definitely does a great job of being time efficient and also marrying 2 different flavors, blueberry and cheesecake, bringing it into one and really giving you an option to satisfy that sweet tooth. And again guys, one of the biggest bonus points is that this recipe will take you only a few minutes. So definitely recommend you guys to try this recipe out, and if you guys did, let me know in the comments below what you guys thought of it. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this video, give this video a big fat thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. But otherwise, stay safe, stay swole, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.